Today in the News Digest, at least 40% of Russia's oil export capacity is at a halt after Ukrainian drone attacks. Putin is losing money dramatically. The US and allies in Iran are running out of missiles, and there is a good reason for that. They use super expensive Patriot missiles to down one cheap Shahed drone. Ukraine is building up a layered defense architecture and gets the result, destroying 95% of Russian airborne targets. More in our exclusive reportage. Drones, reportedly of unknown origin, have struck Russia's Leningrad region for the fourth night in a row. This time, the Kynef oil refinery, one of the country's largest, was hit. It used to produce petrol, diesel, kerosene, and other petrochemicals. The blast was strong enough that local authorities had to admit the attack. The industrial zone is heavily damaged. Russia's defense ministry claims 125 Ukrainian drones were shot down overnight. But even by their own numbers, some still got through and hit their targets. And one more thing, Ukraine didn't start this fire. After recent strikes, Russia's Baltic ports, Primorsk and Ust-Luga, have suspended operations. Both are key export hubs for crude oil and petroleum products. These drone attacks mark one of the most significant hits on Russia's oil export infrastructure in the past 4 years. And while tensions around the Strait of Hormuz may be driving prices up, Ukraine is doing the opposite, cutting Russia's oil revenues down. At least 40% of Russia's oil export capacity is now offline following Ukrainian drone strikes, including hits on pipelines and disruptions to tanker traffic. That's around 2 million barrels per day gone. According to Reuters, this is the most severe oil supply disruption in modern Russian history. This month alone, Ukraine struck all 3 of Russia's key western export hubs, Novorossiysk on the Black Sea and Primorsk and Ust-Luga on the Baltic. The reason is simple. Oil is the backbone of Russia's economy, and Ukraine just knocked out nearly half of it. The US-Israeli attacks against Iran and the threats against its energy infrastructure, as well as Tehran's retaliation on its Gulf neighbors, underline how the norms of starting and escalating international wars have been upended, as BBC puts it, which is not true. Norms of starting and escalating international wars were upended 4 years ago when Russia, armed with Iranian drones, invaded Ukraine.
The cases of Russia and Ukraine, or the U.S. in Iran, or in Venezuela, are called a crime of aggression. That means the use of armed forces by a state against the sovereignty, the territorial integrity, or the political independence of another state. That's it. Now we go from the rules-based system to the rule of the man. Whatever today President Trump decides will be the rule. That's not a viable world. Luis Moreno Ocampo, founding chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court.
Mr. Ocampo says there are clear reasons to take these threats seriously. He links potential U.S. strikes on Iranian energy sites to Russia's attacks on Ukraine's infrastructure, actions that led to ICC indictments for alleged war crimes. And Donald Trump has made such threats more than once. Just last week, he warned he would massively blow up Iran's South Pars gas field if Tehran escalates further. Days later, he went even further, saying the U.S. could obliterate Iran's power plants, starting with the largest, if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened. The White House dismissed ICC prosecutor Moreno Ocampo's statement as ridiculous, saying Donald Trump is taking bold action against what it calls a rogue regime. Few would argue Iran's leadership is a dictatorship, but from the outside, it can look less like liberation and more like a power play.
They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too, but we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out. A top person, don't forget, we've wiped out the leadership phase 1, phase 2, and largely phase 3. But we're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. It's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader. We don't. Well, nobody heard of the second Supreme Leader, the son.
Despite all the tough rhetoric and airstrikes, there's little sign of real progress without boots on the ground. And with no clear plan for a ground operation, the Iranian regime isn't losing. It's dragging the conflict out to its advantage, whatever the rules of escalation may bring. I won't speculate on how that unfolds, but here's what we do know. One Ukrainian interceptor drone to down one Iranian Shahed drone costs as much as $2,000 for a 100% down rate, which is not my Ukrainian news anchor's speculation on the matter, but the actual proved real combat data. It takes 2 interceptor drones and $4K for a certain interception hit. The solution is here, at the table, cheap and effective. While Trump and allies in the Persian Gulf keep on showing an outstanding, amazingly relentless rate of thoughtlessness by, as confirmed by Ukrainian officers observing the scene, firing 8 Patriot missiles to down 1 Shahed drone.
Ukraine has never had such a package of missiles throughout all the years of war. Altogether, it was nowhere close. After this, they made a request to Ukraine. Why? Because 800 or 1,000 missiles will not help when hundreds of Shaheds are flying. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine.
Even if requests may be made, they keep on doing that, rejecting all Ukrainian combat experience and the cheap, fast, result-proven solution offered by Zelensky. Because obviously, there's someone in the world who knows better than anybody else.
No, we don't need Ukraine's help in drone defense. We know more about drones than anybody. We have the best drones in the world, actually. Last person we need help from is Zelensky, Donald Trump, president of the United States.
Ukrainian tech still isn't being adopted by the US or its allies, and the cost is staggering. Today, it can take up to $24 million to shoot down a $100,000 target. More than 800 Patriot missiles, around $2 billion, spent against threats worth roughly $80 million. That's about $1.8 billion burned in the first month of the Iran conflict alone, and it's far from over. So every time multiple Patriot missiles take down a single drone, someone in Tehran is smiling. You can change leaders all you want, but to win wars, you have to change the math. Ukraine's advice is simple. Use the most effective solutions available, or keep paying in lives and billions. On the night of March 24th, Ukrainian air defense neutralized 95% of incoming targets. U.S. Space Command General Stephen Whitney called it out of this world. But the truth? It's practical, down to earth, and systematic. Ukraine's layered air defense uses all available resources, including interceptor drones, to stop attacks. The impact is clear in cities that were once prime targets. And if you want to see these drones in action, our exclusive footage shows them at work.
This is the launch of one of Ukraine's interceptor drones, the P-1-SUN. In the Kharkiv region, Russian attack drones strike civilians almost every day. To prevent them from reaching the city and the region, several layers of air defense have been created. In particular, interceptor drones are used by operators to block Russian UAV flights during nighttime attacks.
We have several interception lines where groups are positioned so they can cover each other as much as possible. Where we can't reach, another group should be able to, creating a wall for the enemy that he cannot break through.
Boris, commander of one of the interceptor drone platoons, says that as soon as an enemy UAV appears on the radar, the crew has only a few minutes to destroy it.
You know where you can intercept it. You have literally 1 to 2 minutes maximum. After that, the chances of catching up with it become very low. In February, we had 2 confirmed hits and 2 more impacts where no detonation occurred.
There can be several interceptor launches per night, but if the target is not found, the pilots return the drones to base.
There was a night when we had 10 launches and didn't detect a single one. You roughly understand where to look. Our policy is, if you don't find anything and there's a chance to return, we bring it back.
To counter Russian Shahed drones, Ukraine developed and later launched mass production of interceptor drones such as Sting, P-1-SUN, and others in 2024. These Ukrainian defense industry developments are now attracting interest from around the world, as the war in the Middle East has clearly demonstrated the danger posed by Shaheeds.
If critical infrastructure facilities are equipped with such automatic or semi-automatic systems, that is most likely the future.
According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine has received requests for the supply of these drones from 11 countries. Several groups of Ukrainian service members have already been sent to countries in the Middle East to provide consultations on countering Shahed-type drones, reported by Natalia Belokudria, UATV News.
That's all for today's digest. Stay safe, stay informed, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates.